And just allow your eyes to close. And just allow the attention to pull inwards. Just allow the awareness to drop within this moment, this very moment, this very breath. Draw that awareness deep within you. Noises, sights, smells, sensations, the waves of the own mind. This stuff is always there. It's part of the package deal of a human life. Meditation is not about stopping the sights or the sounds or the smells of the world, but it's about finding a silence within, finding what Puja Swamiji calls a noiselessness amidst the noise. So just drop within and find that. Find that place within yourself that's noiseless, that's scentless, sensationless, desireless, fearless, that place within you that just is. Allow yourself to just drop into that place. If you get distracted, don't worry. Just draw the awareness back. It's normal and natural. The sensations in the outer world and the waves of the mind have been grabbing our attention since the day we were born. So it's a new habit to learn, to withdraw the attention away from those things. So if you get distracted, don't worry. Just bring the awareness back to the moment, back to that deep place of stillness, of silence, within the self. Slowly and gently bring the palms of your hands together at chest level in Namaste. And gently rub the palms of your hands against each other. Press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Slowly open the eyes and lower the hands. Welcome. Welcome to Satsang. Starting with a question from our online internet family. We will then open it up. If anyone here has any question, just be ready with your question and you can raise your hand after we take this first one. I am a married woman. Such good questions. I am a married woman with grown-up kids, and I have been practicing spirituality for almost 18 years now. I love my sadhana, my solitude, and I don't participate much in the world of social obligations and people, but my husband does. Should I completely abstain from participating in the social world and only choose my spirituality? Or should I balance the two, which is indeed quite hard? How do I curate my life to suit the highest purpose of God realization? And this is asked by Anupama. So, there's no one answer to this because it really depends and varies on the stage of life that we are at, the stage of our spiritual practice and journey and path that we are at. So we'll look at it from a couple of different ways. When we do tree plantation, Puja Swamiji is very committed to tree plantation. And so not only do we gift tree saplings as our only gift that we give, but we personally do lots and lots and lots of tree plantations, and individually and in partnership with other organizations and etc. And we've been doing this for decades. Now, if you actually care about a tree surviving, not just a photo op of planting it, then you have to do something. You have to put what is called a tree guard around the tree. This may not be true everywhere in the world, but it is most definitely true here. Because here we have monkeys, we have cows, we have dogs, we have all sorts of animals roaming around who are very happy to uproot a tree sapling, either because they're going to eat it, or because they're being just naughty and obnoxious, or for whatever reason. But these animals, between the cows and the monkeys and the dogs, they tend to, mostly cows and monkeys, they tend to either eat or rip up tree saplings. So you put a very simple little tree guard around the sapling for a while. And it doesn't have to be there for very long, because within a couple of years, the tree has established roots that are so strong. And the tree starts to get a trunk of some good strength, such that eventually monkeys can come and swing on its branches, and it has absolutely no impact on the tree. Or the cow can come and nuzzle up against it, and it has no impact on the tree. But in those early days, you need a tree guard. And I mention this in direct response to this question, because when a lot of us embark on spiritual paths, or we embark on new levels of spiritual practice, it feels a little bit like a new sapling. And it feels almost like so much of the world seems to kind of uproot us. I know for me, when I first came to India and had all of these incredible spiritual experiences that I did, and then I would go back to America periodically to visit for different programs or whatever it was, and just being there was so difficult. Just being surrounded by that culture I found so difficult. Being with family was really difficult. Being with other people was really difficult, because it felt like anything and everything pulled me. I remember the stories I used to have to tell my mom in order to be able to schedule time for my sadhana. Because, Mom missed me and felt like every waking moment I should be available to her. And so, but she also was always very committed that I should get a lot of sleep. Not just a good night's sleep, but like a really, really good sleep, because she felt like I don't get enough sleep. And so when I went back, I should sleep. So I ended up having to do something that's not really in alignment with my commitment to truth, but was necessary, which was to get up really early, do my sadhana in my room, and then, 7:30 or so, walk out of my bedroom going, oh, wow, what a great night's sleep. And Mom was super happy, because she felt like I've really slept in. I've had a great, super night's sleep. I was happy because I'd had a few hours of uninterrupted sadhana. And then at night, because I get up early and also because I have a before sleep sadhana, 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'd be like, I'm calling it a night. And she was so happy. I mean, in her mind, I was getting, 10 and a half hours of sleep a night. And she'd say, see, I told you, you need more sleep than you're getting, But she felt so happy that I was getting all of these hours of sleep. And I mention this because the idea of not having that time in the morning or the night felt like it was just enough to throw me completely off. That I felt like if I didn't have all of that time, I was not going to make it through the day. The idea of being sort of in someone's presence from the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to sleep at night felt like it was going to throw me off of my center, even if that person was my mom or my dad. And so you build a little tree guard around yourself. And whether it's, going certain places. I mean, I was very, very strict about where I would go, who I would meet, and it was really necessary in the beginning because it was so new for me that I needed that beautiful, tree guard. I didn't need it here because here the whole atmosphere felt like a beautiful protective cradle, but I needed it when I traveled. Now, at this point in my life, yeah, I'm still very committed to my practice. I still have an intense morning and evening practice, but if there's a day that I've got to get up and catch an early morning flight, or something's going on, or, when my mom had her stroke and I was back there taking care of her, like, there are just days in which something else becomes your sadhana. Like, oh, okay, so today this is my sadhana, rather than this is what took the place of my sadhana. And you just start to see things a little bit differently because you've developed more of a sense in which that path is you rather than something that you need to do. And so to our sister Anupama, what I would say is there's absolutely nothing wrong with socializing. There's no tenet in the scriptures that says, thou shalt not have friends, thou shalt not socialize. That, nothing. We know the power of Sangha. I mean, a spiritual community is incredibly powerful and important and positive, but even otherwise. As spiritual people, you can turn any situation into a spiritual meeting. It could be the person who's checking you out at the grocery store. It could be just a moment. It's not that you have to start, singing kirtan while there's a line of 20 people behind you. But it could be just a moment of looking in her eyes or his eyes and just a moment of contact, a moment of seeing, a moment of recognition. So I would say, given that you're married, given that your husband likes going to these social things, if he's super happy to go without you and he doesn't mind at all and you're super happy to stay home, then consider yourself very lucky that you've worked it out so well. Don't feel like you should be going. But if he feels very much like he would like your presence, then I would say compromise. Go sometimes. Go to the ones in which you know that there will be people you can sit a little bit aside with, find a quiet corner, have a deep conversation. A gathering in a group doesn't necessarily have to degenerate into chaos. Groups are made up of people. And there's always other people in these gatherings who actually are looking for something deeper. And you almost always can find them. So I'd say find those social situations in which you actually can have a conversation. So maybe not a rock concert. Maybe a potluck dinner instead. A birthday party instead, a picnic instead. Somewhere where there's going to be enough spaciousness, enough quiet where you actually could sit and actually have a meaningful one-on-one with either someone who's a friend or with someone who's about to become a friend. But see whether you can carry that spiritual anchoring and grounding into every single situation and every moment. I'll tell you a personal funny story about this. So, growing up, I was not very into heartthrobs or too much rock music. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like super into it. But the one person I was really, really, really into from that world was Sting, the lead singer of the Police at that time. Then he went on solo. And I just loved, loved, loved Sting. So fast forward, and that was early teenage years, fast forward several decades, and Pujaswamiji and I get invited to this benefit program being hosted in Rajasthan by the King and Queen, the Maharaj and Maharani of Jodhpur, to raise money for the Head Trauma Association, a really good cause, a really wonderful organization. They're beautiful people, really just exquisite people. And as part of this kind of weekend event, they had a whole bunch of things going on, including a whole spiritual program. And so we were speaking and giving satsang and teachings and meditation in the spiritual program. And one of the nights they had music. And Sting is, I guess, a family friend of theirs, and they invited him, and I discover that, oh my God, Sting is playing here at this thing that I'm at. And so I said to Puja Swamiji, I said, I think we should go. And he, being just the most absolute, loving, trusting, so deeply connected that nothing can throw him guru, says, okay, whatever you say. Like, he doesn't know who Sting is. He has no idea what this is going to entail. And so we go into the garden area of they're having it in the palace. It's not like you had to go someplace else. It was all on the grounds of the palace. And we come in and sit down for a few minutes, and I realize a song or two in how absolutely, completely inappropriate it is for me to have brought my guru here. And so I fall at his feet and beg forgiveness, and manage to get him immediately taken back to where we were staying. But I share the story because it was such a perfect example of exactly this, which was, aside from how wonderful I still think Sting is and how much I still love him, it was a rock concert. The quality of the music isn't the issue. The point is it was a rock concert, and it was all of the things that one would expect to find in a rock concert. And I am sure that the moment we entered, and probably even before that, Puja Swamiji knew, she's crazy. This is absolutely not the right place to bring me. But because of who he is and that internal anchoring, grounding presence, he wasn't thrown by it. He wasn't disturbed by it. He was just as peaceful. And he would have sat through the whole thing if I hadn't suddenly been overcome with guilt and recognized how inappropriate what I had done was and rectified the situation. But he would have sat completely grounded, anchored, unfazed, maybe even enjoyed some of the music, but just point being that nothing phases him. But he no longer needs a tree guard. He doesn't need to protect that energy because he is one of those, like a redwood tree, an oak tree. One of those trees that nothing is going to collapse or impact in any way, the type that withstand fire and earthquakes and all of the natural disasters. Along the way, though, we have to be really careful about protecting that energy. And so to the extent that you can protect it, keep it clear inside, keep it quiet, keep it focused, keep it in a situation where you're not distracted, where you don't feel pulled off center. It's obviously the best choice. But if you find yourself, because your husband wants to take you there, or because for whatever reason it may be, that here you are in a party, or here you are in another social situation, no problem at all. Spirituality doesn't mean solitude. Figure out how in every situation, what you can have is a deep and meaningful moment. A deep and meaningful spiritual connection. Because you can have one anywhere, anytime, with anyone, in any situation. So just turn those moments from what feel like socializing into what can feel like a really deep spiritual practice for you. Great. Other questions that anyone here has? Yeah. Yeah, Devi.
Pranam and happy thoughts. See, many times we are going to big temples for darshan, particularly Jyotirlingas or Tirupati or something. Many times what happens, because of a lot of crowd, it becomes more a mechanical darshan. So such places, when you go, you don't get time, rather you cannot stand against a deity for a long time. So in such places, how you feel the aura or vibrations or the energy of that place?
Beautiful, beautiful. So this is the tragedy of having 1.4 billion people in a country, not counting all of those who come from outside the country, to come and worship at some of the most sacred and holy places. They're crowded. And when they're crowded, naturally the people who run the places become, as you say, mechanical. And they're constantly cello, 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 like move, 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 move. And you're not given what feels like it would be an ideal situation to just have darshan of the divine. You're standing there in the temple, in one of these sacred places, in front of the divine. But somebody's essentially saying, cello, cello, like move on, move on. How do you find that real connection? You do the very best that you can to tune that guy out. Just assume that for a moment your mantra has become cello, 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 cello. It's just a word. It's just a word. It doesn't have to evoke the emotional stress response in us that it does. It's just a word. You can chant Ram, Ram, Ram. You can chant cello, cello, cello. Now, I wouldn't recommend it as a daily mantra. It's probably not going to fill you with the love and devotion that one wants. But as you're standing there, what happens otherwise is when we're hearing that, our mind reacts to it. This isn't fair. I don't like it. I've traveled 4 days to get here. Tell this guy to shut up. Stop pushing me. This lady came after I did. Why is she in front of me? He got more time than I did. You know, so it's not his cello, cello, cello that's actually preventing us from having that moment. It's my mental reaction to him saying cello, cello. So just tune him out. Tune him out. He's going to chant whatever he's going to chant. Just listen to it like a mantra. That's all it is. Don't let it inside you. Stand there as long as you can.